This might be one of the most valuable podcasts I've ever had the pleasure of doing or even listening to for new agents, because everything you're saying is like, if I could make a checklist of the perfect way to do business and to start in this career, knowing what to do, these are the things, dude. You're killing it. I love your process.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
What's up, real estate rock stars? Welcome to the podcast. This is Caleb Spears, guest hosting for Aaron Amuchastegui. And today we have got a very exciting guest, Barron Calvert, who is with Sloan Realty Group out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And last year, Barron did 56 transactions, more than one a week, which really impresses me. He's in the top 5% of agents nationwide in sales volume, and just has some incredible insight into the business, and a lot of success early on, has just continued to grow in that. So Barron, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you, my friend.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's really an honor to be here. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So we were talking a little bit before we jumped on the podcast here, and you were saying early on in your career, you had quite a bit of sales volume and success early on. Do you want to share a little bit about how you got started and how that went?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I'm from here. I'm from Myrtle Beach. Not very many people can say they're born and raised here. I've been here since I was 4 years old, but went to high school here, went to a community college, graduated from there, and then actually moved to Charleston, got my bachelor's there. And then as soon as I graduated college, full force, went right into real estate, here in Myrtle Beach. And as far as my background before that, it was in, customer service, retail management, that kind of thing, nothing from a real sales perspective. But what got me into real estate, man, just always had a passion for Myrtle Beach. I mean, people growing up, they would kind of joke and say, hey, nobody loves, Myrtle Beach more than you. I can't wait to get the heck out of here. But in hindsight, it's like, we live in one of the best places in the country, in my opinion. So got a lot of passion, a lot of pride. And being from here, that coupled with the fact that, from a customer service perspective, really just liked helping out people and helping accomplish their goals. So I figured, what better way to do it than to kind of combine the two and get into real estate and kind of be a part of the reason that Myrtle Beach is literally the fastest growing city in the country right now. So that's kind of how I got started.
Fantastic. And so in that first year, what was your transaction volume?
Yeah. So my first year, I actually closed on 39 homes my first year. I'm really, thankful for that, but it was crazy.
That's extremely impressive. I think I did like 10.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
It came from a company, like I said, Sloan Realty Group. We have a lot of really hands-on training. And, whenever I was looking for brokerages, that was two of the biggest things people said to look for was, find somebody that has a lot of training and a lot of, leads to kind of jump into it. And that was a really good jump start to get my career going. Just coming in and treating like a full-time career, whereas some people either, treat it part-time or don't have the option to get into it full-time at first. But, I just took that leap and jumped right in it.
That's you touched on something really big there, because my first 2 years, I always say I thought I had a business, but I really had a hobby, because I did not know how to treat it like a business. I didn't have that knowledge base or skill set. So in treating it like a business, can you break that down a little bit? Like what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So, everybody gets into real estate for the freedom of it, right? The time freedom. Which is great. It's a blessing and a curse, right? But especially being down here, you have the beach, you have the good weather. A lot of people, want to come in a little bit late, take off a little early, which is fine if you do that, every now and then. But, especially down here, there's literally over 6,000 agents, in our town, but, less than 1,000 actually do it to like a full-time capacity. So a lot of people, treating it like that, are not very successful. And me, just wanting to work out of passion, just to try to grow as much as possible. So treating it, like almost like a 9 to 5, as if you're clocking in. I mean, usually I would work, more than 40 hours a week if you want to, be successful in this business. But, treating it, having, different, meetings that our company has, there's a lot more structure than your regular company, whereas there was some companies where, say, there's 100 people in there and you don't have any kind of structure, just kind of come in, come out, not much training, not much perspective or leverage on how to succeed in the business. But with our company, we have a lot of not just hands-on training, but, company meetings, just different things to be plugged in and feel like I'm a part of something to, to make me work, harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what it sounds like to me, just reading between the lines here, it sounds like not only did you have structure, but your company provided accountability. Does that feel like accurate to you?
No, that's totally accurate. We have a lot more accountability than other companies. And I love that. Some people, it's a little bit tough to have that structure. They want to come in not having any kind of structure. But for me, I'm kind of all over the place sometimes. So having that organized culture really helped out me. But I mean, accountability is really the way to put it. I mean, we literally have do different CRMs, things like call accountability, which shows, in our Thursday meeting, how many people are being called, if you're following up with people, the way that you should be in order to be successful. But yeah, there's a lot more structure in this company than, other companies around here. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And one of the things that helped me transition from the hobby I had to really running a business, which, my sales literally tripled when I started taking that business-like approach. It was learning about KPIs, the key performance indicators, lead measures, lag measures, right? You've got the things that you input into the business and then you get the output. And a lot of realtors will start with the output in mind. Oh, I'm going to sell 10 million. I'm going to sell 20 million. I'm going to make this much money, whatever their goal is. But they've got no idea what the inputs are to get there. And you touched on it. It's calling people, making contacts, setting appointments. So in terms of those trackable measures you were looking at, I mean, did you have a contact goal or an appointment goal or anything like that you were trying to hit every day or every week?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that, is the 90-day goals. We can kind of talk about that later. But yeah, I would have appointment goals, at least, signing 3 people each week would be a goal, in regards to appointments and, meeting them, whether it be at properties or, in the office, what have you, making a certain amount of phone calls every single day through our CRM structure, and the KPIs involved in that. And obviously, goals in regards to executed contracts, at closings, volume, that sort of thing.
Yeah, fantastic. So making the right amount of calls is one thing, but we all know if you have terrible scripts and you don't know how to talk to people, you're tripping over your words, you can call all the people you want, you don't make a ton of sales. I had a huge learning curve with that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe how that went for you in the beginning in terms of learning what to say or how to say things that led to that success?
Yeah. So, a lot of it, we actually do have, I literally trademarked scripts and everything like that my broker came up with back in 2008, whenever he opened the brokerage. So we go off of that a lot, but more importantly than the words themselves, I'm sure, it's the actual tonality of what you're saying. So having the confidence, the certainty to talk to people, when you get hit with an objection, not being able to only say the words, but actually say them in the right, manner, the right tone. For me, the tonality is almost more important than the actual words themselves. So I'm sure you have been through that, right?
Dude, you're preaching. You are preaching right now. There's a stat that I learned when I was getting my psychology degree, and I want to say it's 80% of communication is nonverbal. It's not what we say. It's how we say it. How are we carrying ourselves or our body language, our tone, right? The pauses and the emphasis we put on different words. I was sitting in the office with one of our newer agents and we were doing cold calls together because I wanted to kind of see how her process was, maybe teach her a few tips that would help her. And when she was running through her script, she was like rushing every word. And it was like, could you have time to do this thing? And it was like quiet. And there was a lot of filler words in there. There's no confidence behind what she was saying. Was that something that came naturally to you? Did you have to work on that? How did that go?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a learning curve. For me, I'm a bit not nervous sometimes, but yeah, it definitely takes me more of a learning curve to kind of get there. So, what really helped me out was just the reps, just calling, a bunch of people and having, firsthand, those objections, whether I overcame them or not. Really using that to craft my skill a little bit more. But yeah, definitely a learning curve for me, just because I get a little anxious, nervous sometimes, especially around new people. But after a few years into it, I'm way more comfortable than I was, before. But yeah, it was definitely something different, when I first started.
Yeah. Yeah. So number of reps is key. Actually, like if I literally pulled up my text with that agent I was just talking about, I literally texted her today and she said, you helped me so much by telling me to make calls faster, because she would analyze one call for like 20 or 30 minutes, trying to learn everything, every little detail about them and the property. And I'm like, girl, you don't even know if you're going to talk to them. just call. And so what was kind of your target rep range that you were trying to hit?
Yeah. And that's how I actually kind of was at first, the same way as her. I would go through, our CRM, the leads that were out there, and kind of seeing, where are they from? What's the price? What property they were looking at? And just how many times they've been called, really overanalyzing the situation. It would take me, like you said, a long time to even, make any calls, just because I was, overthinking things. Right. But after I kind of got over that, on an average day, I usually make at least 100 dials. At least 500 a week. And that's a combination of new leads, current clients, past clients, things of that nature. So usually 500-600 plus, dials a week. That was when I started, and actually still, to this day, it's still somewhere around that ballpark.
So do you find that tracking dials is the most effective metric for you, or are you tracking the amount of people, like the amount of conversations? Like what is that target?
Yeah, I track, the conversations as far as it goes. 100, sometimes the number, sometimes I need to make 100, 125, 100, 75, sometimes $200 to get that connection rate, depending on, the day. Sometimes you have 10, 20, 30, 40 people you talk to. Other times it's a struggle to get anybody to pick up the phone that day. But the contacts to me is definitely, important. And if they don't answer, depending on the lead source, still even voicemails, text messages, but doing it, in a systemized approach and having some kind of reasoning behind it, not just kind of calling random people, if you will, having more of a strategy behind it.
That's huge. I love that. Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing I teach people is most agents will call with like no clear purpose, or they'll call with something that clients already know. They'll be like, oh, the price of your home went up. And they're like, yeah, dude, I have a TV. Like I've seen the news.
Yeah.
I've read Facebook. I know that home prices have went up. Thanks for not really bringing me value. What are some of those, like, I know you said you had trademark scripts, so I don't want to like give away the secret sauce here, but what are some of those value propositions you found to be successful?
Yeah. A lot of it's, pretty simple as far as the scripts part. I don't really use that as much when it comes to actually, current clients, past clients, that sort of thing. It's more of a natural conversation, right? The scripts are more so for new leads, leads that you want to convert, type of thing. But, really simple. Just basically, seeing how the search is going, see what we can do to provide value, asking them, we're a tourist vacation destination here. So a lot of people buy second homes. We have a much longer sales cycle than other parts of the country. The average people we talk to are sometimes 6, 12, 18 plus months out from the first time we speak to them. And you being in, a beach town, it's probably the same type of thing. So there's much more of a refined, sense. What you have to say to them is a lot more of a slow nurture process. I know, whereas some towns, you call them that day, they're ready to buy, 2 weeks from now, but there's a much longer sales process.
Yeah. Which to me, by the way, just to like brag on you some more, I do come from a similar market where the sales process can be 6, 12 months. I've got one client I've worked for 5 years that still hasn't bought anything. God bless him. But I love him. I talk to him all the time. But you made 56 transactions last year in that market environment, which to me just speaks to the quality of your follow-up, because you do not get that level of sales volume in a market like ours, a second home market, without having a clear strategy for keeping in touch with people and not letting them slip through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of those people can be years out. And if you have, like I said, it's a database to where you combine, reaching out to people who just register on the website versus people who've been on the website for years. They say old leads or gold leads, right? So, I helped a guy this year. His name was Kenny. I literally met him back in October 2017, but the time was not right until, literally last month where I helped him buy a condo. So not giving up on people and, making sure their search is good. Sometimes people's criteria switch up. They can either get approved for more or want to retire down here instead of buying second home. So really just keeping in touch and trying to make it personal. Especially if I've been nurturing them, talking to them for years. And it's not that hard of a conversation to have at that point, just every few weeks, every couple of weeks, whatever the scenario is, just seeing how they're doing, and going from there. But yeah, last year I was super thankful, 56 homes. But it was a combination of people who live here versus non-locals. But, like I told you, just trying to treat everybody the same and try to give them, whatever service I can provide.
Yeah, I love to. You're like, look, once they're kind of in my pipeline, once I have a relationship with them, the call is so rarely, hey, do you want to buy or sell? It's like, how are you? How are your kids doing? Mm-hmm. Are you guys enjoying that place you bought last year? Is that kind of the flow of the conversation for you most times?
Yeah, most of the time, especially if they bought places, our company, myself, take a lot of pride in being the resource to go to for any kind of vendors they need, property management companies, plumbers, electricians, painters, always having that guy or that girl who can, help them out. And that goes a long ways too, especially people moving down here. They really don't know anybody. So just being that go-to source, not just for real estate, but anything they need, restaurant suggestions, anything like that.
So I've started implementing that in the last couple of years too, where it's like when I'll talk to a lead, a lot of times it's even new leads, and they're like, hey, I'm not ready to sell. I'm not ready to buy. I'm not looking to do anything. I always just say, look, no problem. What else can I help you guys with? Do you need a rental manager? Because a lot of our stuff is short-term rentals. Do you need a plumber? Do you need an interior designer to help you decorate this house you bought last year? Whatever it is, I like to build relationships. I'm not transactional in my business. I want to build a relationship with you. How can I serve you? And it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. I've had several people where their circumstances change and they don't end up buying anything, but they would literally send me referrals just because I was so consistent with following up with them. They didn't forget about me. And, likewise, I didn't forget about them, even if they told me they're not going to buy anymore. Not, reach out to them too often, but still every few months, have a little 5-minute conversation just to, check in with them. It's not anything crazy,
Barron, I'm serious and genuine when I say this. This might be we're literally 10 minutes in. This might be one of the most valuable podcasts I've ever had the pleasure of doing or even listening to for new agents. Because everything you're saying is like, if I could make a checklist of the perfect way to do business and to start in this career, knowing what to do, these are the things, dude. You're killing it. I love your process.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. It means a lot. It really wasn't always that when I first started. I did sell, 39 homes my first year, but I was very not insecure, but just, I was very young at the time, and some of those people I didn't necessarily reach out to as much as I should after the closing, just because, I was telling stories to myself that I didn't do a good job. I wasn't that good of an agent. They don't, they shouldn't reach out to me. And then oftentimes, obviously, if that wasn't the case, they would reach out to me, later, I'd still touch base with them. But especially when I first started, I had to overcome, an uphill battle as far as getting that certainty, that confidence that you need to produce here. In my first year, I worked like crazy, but still wasn't, very confident in myself. But, through time, kind of overcame that a little bit.
So in building confidence, do you feel like that was a result of the amount of transactions or just learning more about your market? What kind of led to that?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of both, just, repetitions, transactions, like you said, and just starting to, believe in myself, believe in the process, and that, I'm genuinely helping out people, literally accomplish their dreams, making the biggest purchase of their life. And, once I kind of started seeing the fruits of my labor, people, were wanting me to list their houses, send me referrals on, very, on a small scale at first, kind of believing in myself a little bit more. That sort of thing, really. It was not an overnight process. I mean, it took, years, obviously, but, yeah, it was something that was very uncomfortable at first, especially, being young, being 22, 23, right out of college, especially in this market, people, retiring down here, older generations. I love them, but especially when you're young, they judge the heck out of it. You could be the best agent in the world, but it's definitely an uphill battle being young in this industry. And I mean, you got into it when you were like 18, right?
Yeah, I got licensed when I was 18. I started just after my 19th birthday, like really in the business. And I have always felt, until maybe the last literally like 12 months, I've been doing this over 6 years. I've always felt like I was fighting that uphill battle of my youth. As I've grown in my confidence, I think it started to shift a little bit into a pro in my favor, because when I started to carry myself with that confidence as a young person, it went from, oh, you don't know anything as an inconfident young person to, oh, you're like this hot young go-getter type. You're young, you're getting things done. And I don't know if that happened for you, but it kind of started to shift as my confidence grew.
Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Muchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. What's your favorite CRM?
We're using Follow Up Boss.
We use Follow Up Boss.
So we use Follow Up Boss.
I love Follow Up Boss. I love it. We have action plans now for bringing on new agents. We have action plans for our recruiting.
We call them action plans in Follow Up Boss, which will trigger tasks for the agents to do as far as calling. Follow Up Boss I like more for the integrations with everything, MailChimp, Call Action, all those different products.
I will say we used Sync, and we switched from Sync to Follow Up Boss.
Honestly, the greatest CRM I've ever used. I've used Brivity, Sync. I've looked at Boomtown, like Real Geeks, just a bunch of different ones. But me personally, I fell in love with FUB about like 7 months ago when I first started using it.
I've used Boomtown. I've used Line Desk. I've used Conversion. And I think Follow Up Boss gives you the most integrations that are simple, and it gives you the best ability to go and integrate large things into one single solitary platform. Yet at the same time, it's still affordable.
I do like Follow Up Boss better just because you can text from the app and things like that. It's just a little more convenient for me.
It tracks everything that I need. I can customize it if I want. If I want to go smart list based, that's fine. If I want to go task based, it's fine.
I think it's one of the best systems, and it's very user friendly.
It just really helps me never drop a ball because it's so user friendly.
I don't have a one horse in the race with Follow Up Boss. Purely objective, Follow Up Boss has been the best one that we've found.
Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well, because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial, and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. Thanks again. Now back to our show.
Yeah, I mean, same kind of thing. People, in a good way, they would say, oh, you remind me of my daughter or my son or my grandkid, you're a go-getter, that kind of thing. But I'm using it to my advantage, whereas, there's a lot of agents down here who are literally retirees, just doing it part-time for fun. And, I love, a lot of them, but, quite frankly, some of them struggle to work an email, work a lockbox, or still, different things like, so using, those types of skills as an advantage, communication, being quick to respond to people, instead of taking days to get back, especially in a market like we have now, but using those types of things that some people could see as disadvantages to actually, flipping it and using it, as an advantage, from that aspect.
100%. And you mentioned 90-day goals, and that is something I really want to hear about. I'm really interested in that. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and what it did for you?
Yeah, for sure. So that's something that my broker introduced. I think he actually got it from somebody else. But yeah, I mean, every quarter, our company has different, meetings as far as 90-day goals, the first 3 months, second, 3 months and so on and so forth. But whenever you break it down at the end of the year, people have New Year's resolutions. Those really don't stick. They're not actual, legitimate goals. And it sounds like, if you want to sell, $20 million in volume or sell 50 homes in a year, that's a really astronomical number. But breaking it down, compartmentalizing it, reverse engineering it to quarterly goals, right? And then from there, you break it down into month by month and then week by week to not only, succeed or, keep track of your goals and the business aspect, but there's actually 3 other aspects we go off of. So we call it the 4 B's. There's, body, which is obviously whether it's working out, losing weight, eating right, doing that type of thing. Being, which is more, spiritual, if you're religious, that sort of thing. But it also incorporates like meditations, books, podcasts, things like that, educational material to help you, develop more as a person. And then balance, we have that as relationships, with your spouse, or if you have kids, that sort of thing, date nights, what have you. And then business is, obviously the business aspect of it, transactions, how many people you've signed, closings, volume goals. And if you think about it on a week by week, basis, it's a lot less overwhelming. And, breaking it down in 90 days, you can see where you're at and where you need to self-correct instead of, being at the end of the year or 6-7 months into it, like we are now, and saying, that you're not where you want to be and kind of being surprised by those results instead of keeping track of it, from the beginning of the year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's what we did was we had this little spreadsheet and we would plug in how much money we wanted to make, how many weeks we wanted to work. And then we would plug in some of our key performance indicators, like how many contacts or dials do we need to make on average to make a sale? Mm-hmm. And then just kind of back out. Okay, so there's our yearly goal. And like you said, okay, so here's a quarterly, a monthly. And ultimately what was powerful for me was just keeping track of a weekly goal. I felt like if I was hitting my weekly goal week after week, the other stuff would take care of itself. Was that similar to you in terms of like chunking it down like that, focusing on the short-term daily or weekly goals, or was it more helpful for you to focus on that longer term?
Yeah, definitely the weekly to kind of see where I'm at, whether I need to self-correct or, make more dials or do things in a, different manner, if you will. But yeah, I mean, that really helped out, especially newer agents when they work with us, they come in, during their interview process, they're like, how many homes do you want to sell this year? And they'll give, the interviewer some kind of number. And then like, all right, how are you going to accomplish that? And they have no idea. So, being brand new, you really don't have much of an approach or idea on where to get those numbers from. So yeah, breaking it down, from a year by year to month by month, week by week allows me to, stay focused. I'm kind of all over the place sometimes, but having that on the top of my mind allowed me to keep track of everything for sure. Otherwise, I'd be really, disorganized.
Same, 100%. And so when you're focused on making 100 calls a day, 500 to 600 a week, in those 100 calls in a day, how long is that taking you on average? And how many people are you usually talking to?
Yeah. So on average, it can be, depending on how many people I call or talk to, it could be 2 hours, maybe a little bit less. Sometimes it goes closer to 3 hours. That's about on average, but usually try to knock that out early in the morning, between like 8 to 11 o'clock. So that way I can focus on the rest of the day and not get home in the afternoon, get home at night and still have to worry about making a bunch of calls. I can, save that energy for, showings, appointments, that sort of thing. But as far as people that actually pick up, it can be like 10, 20, 30, depending on, the time of the day it is and, who I'm talking to, whether it's current clients, past clients, new leads, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So for me, I tried I've transitioned a little bit on our team to focusing on a little bit broader of agent development and sales managership. And then I also have my own personal sales. But when I was just sales, I was trying to hit 20 contacts a day, 5 days a week. So having two-way conversations with 20 people a day, 100 contacts. It took me 2 or 3 hours a day, just like you. I tried to knock it out in the morning. Same thing. I freaking love your business plan, dude. It's like such a mirror image, and it's taken me 6 years to build it. I'm so grateful that you're sharing it with people, because there's going to be some agent in year one that picks up this knowledge and is so far ahead of the game. So thank you for even just being willing to be vulnerable with your process. So many people, like, they guard those secrets.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I mean, a lot of it really comes from my broker. I mean, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today if it weren't for him. And setting everything up there. I mean, he looks out, obviously, for our coworkers' best interest and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, if it weren't for him, I'd have no kind of insight or guidance, or even be, probably interviewing with you right now if I didn't have that kind of structure and support.
Yeah, that's huge. And so to do the volume that you do you have an assistant or a transaction coordinator or anything like that to kind of keep the paper process streamlined?
Yeah, not so much. On our listing side, we do have like a transaction coordinator there. But, from my perspective, I don't have like a personal team or anything. The 56, homes I sold were all through me. I didn't have like a showing agent or, anything like that. We do have a really good team. We have like an ISA, which is, phenomenal. I get a few, deals or transactions with him a year. But as far as closing coordinator, no. I mean, I do most of that paperwork, most of that myself.
Wow. That's even more impressive then. Like 56 homes, a lot of homes and a lot of paperwork. That's awesome. And then in terms of I'm just curious on this, because down here, a lot of our agents that are doing the same volume as you, they don't show their listings. They just have a lockbox on the property and they're like, let us know how it goes. Is that your philosophy, or do you like to go to your showings and kind of be more involved in that showing process?
Yes. I mean, depends on the situation. I'll show some of my listings sometimes, but the way we have our team structured, I get oftentimes where, some of my coworkers, they'll bring the buyers to the property and, kind of sell it that way as well. But as far as my approach, it's about probably 60-40, about 60% of my transactions are with buyers. The other 40% are with sellers right now, maybe 65-35, which is a good balance. I'd like to transition a little more, to the listing side. Most of the listings I do now are literally from, repeat clients, referrals, fears, that kind of thing. I'm not like cold calling expireds or anything like that. So it's a lot more natural process. There's not much battling over price or, anything like that. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But I'll show my listings. I'll do whatever it takes to get it done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I hate calling expireds. It sucks the soul out of my body.
Yeah.
It's like my least favorite way to get leads. I tend to prefer a more seller heavy model myself. And it was the same way. I was really heavy on the buy side, and I've slowly transitioned over time to more and more sellers. And now the only buyers I typically work with are just repeat customers. Is that your goal in terms of like, what would be your ideal business model if you could just snap your fingers and have X amount percentage be listings versus buyers?
Yes. I like the buying side. It is a bit tedious sometimes to where, you show people a bunch of properties and they don't buy. But I like both aspects of it. I genuinely like helping people out. I know that sounds, like a bit corny, right? But helping people out, whether it's their first time they're buying a house down here or, retiring down here, not knowing the area, not knowing, the places to be versus, more questionable areas. But, being that guide, that resource is something that's, real fulfilling for me. So I still like that. I don't, I think the sales cycle is a little bit quicker than it was before as far as showing people houses. When I first started, you'd sometimes show them 10, 20 houses and they wouldn't, buy anything. You don't see that as much nowadays just because inventory is, so low. And, even though things have slowed down a hair as far as traffic, places are still selling quick. So for me, probably a little more on the listing side, like we said, maybe like a 75-25, 75% listing, 25% buyers. But I like not the randomness of it, but still, mixing it up, still not doing the same kind of tedious things every day. I like, getting out and kind of seeing, a neighborhood I may not have been in before, a neighborhood I haven't been in 2 or 3 years, kind of seeing how it's developed and, what's going on there. There's still part of me that likes, getting out there and doing that.
Yeah. And so you touched on, hey, I know it's corny, but I just love to help people. I can tell that's not just I just love to help people. It's like, you really mean it. And I can tell in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak about your clients, how you're talking about your follow-up process. I mean, people that truly care do follow up really well. And I can tell you, even in my own experience, I've shared before, like, I'm ashamed of my first couple of years in the business because my follow-up sucked. I was just very transactional, very hey, we close the deal. See you in a year or two. I'm not going to follow up. And that embarrasses me now. And I love to hear that you avoided that pitfall and you've cared from day one all the way through the transaction process. I'm curious too, in terms of, you said you're showing volume from in a sales cycle sense went down from, hey, we're going to look at 10 or 20 homes to, hey, we're going to make a decision kind of quickly here. My guess is, the market shifted, inventory has been lower across the country, but if you're anything like me, you probably got better too at refining your idea of what they're looking for by asking the right questions. Did you kind of find that to be true as you gain knowledge and experience?
Yeah, 100%. And we have different, buyers, consultations where we'll meet them face to face and go over, literally 100 plus different factors and really narrow that down. I mean, especially if they're local. I mean, you could talk to them on the phone for 2 minutes, send them some random properties, but that's not really, benefiting anybody. So, listening to them a little more, just from my experience, kind of seeing, where they want to be versus, where they don't want to be. And even though they might say something's fine, kind of knowing that, if we actually go look at it, it's probably not going to be the best fit for them. They might say it's a great idea, but once we get out there, they can't stand it or don't like it. So trying to, figure that out up front to, not waste their time, just be more efficient for everybody. Because then, if I start showing them places that they don't like, even though they picked them out, they'll start, questioning my judgment a little bit, even though they're the ones that picked the homes out,
100%. It's always your fault as the realtor. Yeah. That's just the way it goes. And I'm curious because a lot of new agents, and when I was a new agent, this was how it was for me, was when someone says, I want a 3-bed, 2-bath in this neighborhood, you're like, great, I'm going to go find you every 3-bed, 2-bath in the neighborhood. And you end up showing them 15 of them and they don't buy any of them. They're exhausted from the buying process because they hate 14 out of the 15. And they're just too tired to even make an offer on the one, or they missed it because someone else bought it while they were looking at number 13 on the list, right? So when you were figuring out how to narrow down, hey, okay, I know you think you want to see that, but you really don't. What were some of the questions, or just kind of what were you listening for that helped you weed out what they did and didn't want, or what would be a good fit for them? And I know it's different for every client.
Yeah, just trying to take it, next level, just asking different questions, a condo building, for example. They'll say, oh, I love this condo. It's on the second or third story. There's no elevator. And I'll say, is that okay with you? There's no elevator there. It's like, no, I got to have an elevator. All right, so let's rule that out. There's different things like that. And just the condition of the property, asking them what kind of work they're comfortable doing. I can judge off the pictures. Usually you have a pretty good idea of, what kind of work a place might need based on the price and the condition it's in, but asking them those questions. Hey, are you comfortable with doing all this? Can you do that? Will you do that? And just making them, ask themselves if they're comfortable with those types of things. Just paying attention to what they're looking for. Some places, our area here is so spread out. We cover, Horry County, Georgetown County. Horry County is literally the largest county in South Carolina land-wise. So it's a really spread out area. So trying to, narrow it down to certain neighborhoods. Some people say, everybody says, I want to be by the beach, right? I'm like, all right, are we talking walking distance, golf cart distance? They're like, oh no, I can be half an hour away driving. I'm like, all right, well, that really opens things up. So just trying to take it just next level and, try to ask them, questions, not in an interrogating, type of way, but just to, really to better serve them. Because I have so many people I talk to, probably, same for you. They say, I want to be by the beach, but that's, that could be anywhere depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah. One of the biggest things in our market is proximity to beach. Obviously, that's a big driving factor here, but also they'll tell me, hey, I want this certain community. And I love to ask why.
Yep.
And that why question is, I think, one of the last things that new agents learn to ask, because you almost feel weird questioning their judgment about what they want. But I think a real seasoned agent, when you just say, hey, why do you like that? You might go, because their answer might be, oh my gosh, we went there in the off season and there was no crowds and it was great and we loved it. And you're like, dude, that neighborhood is insane in the summer. In the busy season, you really don't want that if you like quiet with no crowds. Have you found that that why question to be really powerful?
Yeah, of course, because sometimes they want something so specific that doesn't even exist. So some people down or not from here, want to move down here. They say, I want to be in a retirement community, a 55 and up community. I'm like, well, really, Myrtle Beach doesn't have very many of those, 10, maybe 15 communities. I'm like, why do you want to do that? And they'll say, oh, the amenities, the crowd, this and that. Well, I could find you, 100 other communities that have just as much amenities, if not more, if that's something that's important for you, or that type of lifestyle you're going for, finding, comparable communities, not to just, limit them to one or two places that fit, within their price point, the location they're going for. So really asking, why it's important for them, is really crucial for me.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'm curious too, marketing wise, what's been kind of your go-to success stories from a marketing perspective? What's been working for you? Have you tried anything outside the box or new and had any, success or failures? I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on the marketing piece.
Yeah. So, really I've not done a whole lot in regards to marketing. It's just been a lot of, organic, sphere type of situations, but being consistent on Facebook, my first, 2-3 years, even I was very sporadic, almost like a secret agent, not even, posting anything, not even telling anybody I was on there, just because, like I told you, I was a bit, insecure at the time, not very confident, or felt like, I didn't deserve, that type of attention. But, trying to be consistent on Facebook and not anything next level, just talking about, when you get somebody on your contract, whenever you close on a property and, I haven't done any, the last few weeks, last few months, but, be more active on that. Actually, success stories when it comes to testimonial videos at closing, just asking a few questions about the process and just using that. Just, really organic process. And I've had a lot of people, reach out to me through there, whether it be in Facebook or calling me or seeing me in person. And you almost kind of treat it like a billboard. Nobody calls you or wants to work with you because they see a billboard. But whenever you talk to them face to face or they message you, they'll say, oh, I see you're killing it on Facebook. I'm like, really? I haven't talked to you in 4 years. You haven't liked, any of my posts. How did you even know that, I sold that house last week? Just from an organic perspective like that, nothing really out of the box or off the wall, just trying to, keep it consistent. I'm doing something now. I just kind of finalized it a few weeks ago. I haven't really done any marketing for it yet, but something, really simple. A lot of people down here have dogs and cats and pets, obviously, for whether it's first time home buyers, retirees, but it's called, basically, I haven't done any marketing, just, buy or sell with me and adopt a pet for free. So I, hooked up with the Humane Society to where I'll pay any kind of adoption fees, vaccination fees, for somebody to get a cat, a dog, from the Humane Society. Because right now they're all basically over their limit, over capacity. So I think that's something that's kind of neat. Again, I haven't made any promotional material on that yet. But as far as marketing goes, really nothing outside the box, man. Just trying to keep it simple.
That's super cool. I love that idea of letting your marketing be something that is organically something you're passionate about, with helping out animals. And we just had someone on the podcast. It hasn't even gone live yet. So you probably even haven't even had the chance to listen to him, but it was an agent out of New York City. And he said he got over $7 million in deals because he loves to foster animals. And just working at the animal shelter, he ended up meeting people, and organically they start talking about real estate at some point, and he gets clients out of it. And I think you're going to be really successful doing that. I think that's definitely a cause that pulls on people's heartstrings. It's obviously something that's important to you. And, I think those organic pieces where people can really see you from more than just a business person, but really see your heart in things, that goes such a long way to building a personal connection.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I got an adopted dog, Oakley, I love him. But something that, if anything, I could work on improving to not come off as so business oriented. I make a lot of, post on Facebook as far as business goes, things like that. But I have a personal life. I do a lot of different things outside of work, but I kind of neglect to show that aspect, that personal side, on there to kind of show that, human aspect of it. So that's definitely, a good opportunity for me. But sometimes, I'll get so caught up in posting stuff on Facebook from a business perspective. I don't focus on the human aspect as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. And so I think that would actually be, first of all, thank you for being vulnerable enough to share something that you can improve on. I think that would be huge for you. And I can give you a really good example of something that happened on our team. One of our agents, we had an outside third-party panel go out and basically poll people and show their social media, this agent's social media, to these random people that don't know them and say, what's your impression? And they were like that, where it was very business oriented on the post. And they said, they seem kind of aloof. They seem kind of, almost, and this may not be applied to you, but they're like, it seemed almost like stuck up because it's just all about them. It's just very self-centered media. And so we took that feedback and we changed their marketing to incorporate some of those organic moments of just spending time with the family or walking the dog or hanging out at the beach, and sprinkle those in with the business-oriented posts. And it has been an absolute explosion for their business because people can make a personal connection with them. They already trust them for the business side, but now they feel like they know them as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. For me, yeah, it's definitely something I could work on. But yeah, I mean, right now it's probably, I don't know, out of every 10 posts, maybe 7, 8, 9 are actually business. The personal aspect, I'm a bit, when I'm not working, I like to, not work and not focus on social media, not be reserved, but still, hang out with friends and family and not really feel the need to post about that, kind of stuff all the time. But it is something that, would go further. It would help me further my career.
One of the biggest things you can do is just video, first of all, is really impactful. Mm-hmm. Video over photos, and just getting your face on camera and not always being about, here's the number, here's the stat, here's the home I sold, but being just like, hey, I'm hanging out today, working from home. Who out there is working from home today, or who's going to enjoy this beautiful weather kind of thing. It can be so simple. It can be a 30-second Instagram story or a 1-minute reel, just being yourself. Hey, I'm out here walking the dog. We're about to go do an event at the rescue shelter later today. You guys come out and join me at 2 p.m. If you ever thought about adopting a dog, we'll pay your vaccination fees. We just want to help these animals find a good home. That would just, dude, you'd kill it. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'll be implementing in the future. Yeah, and as far as the business post, it's not, I don't say cliche things like talking about interest rates or houses sold. I mean, usually it is homes that I either represented on the buy side or the sell side, but mentioning my clients' names, trying to take photos with them and actually mentioning their story, why they're moving down here, what they loved about the house, and really trying to make it a little more personal. Yeah, I'm the kind of same way. I don't really care for the people, the lenders, the realtors who are making the Facebook posts, talking about the same thing everybody else talks about, right? The market, interest rate, stuff that doesn't really appeal to people, and unless you're an agent or a lender, right? And trying to make it more personal.
Yeah. And I mean, the educational side of things can be good, but I think it applies to such a small sliver, because it's like, it's either a buyer that is really, really hot and active and probably already working with somebody. They might care about that really niche, like information about the market or mortgage rates. Your lenders and your realtors are going to care, but otherwise people just want to know you. And as long as you're doing business and they say you're doing business, if they like you as a person, I think they'll probably work with you, like that likability factor is huge.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you ever, so one thing I've talked about before with folks is, kind of to use the younger new age terms, it's like if you're vibing with someone, right? Do you find that to be something you really look for in working with clients, or is it just like, hey, I'll work with anybody, it doesn't matter kind of thing?
Yeah. When I first started, it was kind of, I'll work with anybody. I just want the experience, I had some great experiences with people, some horror stories. We loved each other, hated, working with each other. But as the years have progressed, it's a lot more smoother experience. There's some people where, I'll try to work at, whoever I can, as long as we respect each other. There are some people, I'm sure you have the same situations where they're just so far out of line, or just, I don't want to say not worth the time. They can be $1 million buyers, but if they're extremely rude to you and, just talking down on you, might not be worth, not the time, but the energy, the effort, just being mutual to each other, and just having that respect and say, hey, you may be better off, with somebody else may be a better fit for you, regardless of if they're buying, $100,000 place or $1 million place, just having that conversation and being okay with that. But yeah, generally speaking, it takes a lot to kind of get there to where, I wouldn't want to work with somebody unless they're just really being, vulgar, disrespectful towards you. But yeah, I'll try to work with anybody, whether it's, first time home buyers, retirees. I take everybody, with an open heart and, try to treat them all the same way.
Have you ever had to let go of anybody that was treating you disrespectfully, or maybe demanding so much of your time that you're like, look, your expectations are just unrealistic here?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes whether it's the price point they're going for, or just, again, they're just very unrealistic on what they want in such a specific, criteria that it's not something that's feasible, at least at the price that they want to go for. So yeah, I've had a few situations like that, not very many, 99+% of transactions, experiences are all very good, very cordial. But yeah, of course, sometimes it's just better off if you just kind of let them do their own thing. Yeah,
I had I please, listeners, don't let this be representative of our area, because it is really not. But I had a guy who was really making a lot of racist comments towards people that we were seeing. And then beyond that too, like already I was like, okay, this is not going to work out. And then he asked me what I was going to do this weekend. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably just going to go to church with my family, lay low. And he goes, oh, you're a Christian, huh? Gonna go get your bullhorn out and go shout at me? And I was like, dude, I don't know who you've been around, but no, definitely not. And that was, we've had some rare situations where people are just not the kind of people we want to associate with. And we've just had to step back and let those go. We've had other times where people are just draining your time, where they're very unrealistic with, hey, we want you to do 5 open houses this week. And by the way, we're going to overprice our property by 15%, but you need to be showing it all the time. And it's like, I don't know. I found success being willing to let go of clients that I knew were not a good fit. It freed me up. Have you found that when you have had to let people go, like, did you have a positive result from that, or did you regret it? Like, man, I kind of wish I would have stuck through that.
Yeah. So when I first started, I kind of have a bit more regret. I was still, somewhat successful when I first started, but just still telling a story to myself. I need as many people as I can. I don't want one person to slip away from me. I don't want to be that, situation. But nowadays, yeah, it's a lot more transparent. We have expectations of each other. But yeah, I've had, a handful, probably more than type of racist situations as well. Kind of like you, when I first started, especially, I feel like it's not as bad now as it was, at least when I started. Maybe it's just not as blatant or as obvious as it was, when I first started. But yeah, people would say stuff that I can't, repeat on here, just crazy off the wall stuff. That's really insane. I can't believe, some people say those types of things, but, and that's just what they say to you. I can only imagine what they say, behind your back, not just about you, but about, other people, So yeah, nowadays that's not, hurting my feelings too much when we decide to kind of, walk away from each other.
Yep, I agree. And by the way, I appreciate your humility. We're like, yeah, I did okay in the beginning. 36 sales, Barron, in your first year is tremendous. Like, I appreciate the humility you approach this conversation with, but you deserve all the props in the world for executing at such a high level on your system, for not only creating your goals, but then creating a system to go follow through on those goals. And obviously, I mean, you've hit every one and then some. So I just want to commend you on having the consistency and the wisdom to create a process and then follow it day in and day out. That's huge.
Yeah, that means a lot, man. Thank you, especially coming from you. Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of nerves to even, be on here, even sign up or, at least the application for the podcast. I mean, I've been listening to you guys for the last, 2.5 years since basically COVID, listening religiously every single day since then. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even apply until, recently, obviously, but ever since I've started, and I guess it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's more of a blessing. I've always been kind of, hard on myself, not always taking a moment to sit back and reflect on, where I'm at today. And I'm something that, I'm working on now, but no, I'm super thankful, man. That means a lot to come from you. Yeah, I mean, especially, hearing it from you, but yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you too, you've talked about how your confidence has been growing over the last 5 years that you've been in the business. And man, hey, I just signed up for the podcast kind of thing. Dude, the wisdom you've been dropping today in terms of how to create a business structure, if I could send this podcast to every new agent in the nation, I would do it, because the things you're sharing right now are things that every single one of us need to hear. Every single one of us from top to bottom need to work on. I mean, I think you are just on such a powerful trajectory. You really do have the formula figured out. And now you're just refining those little things that are just going to keep taking you to the next level, but you're really killing it.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So if people want to send you some wonderful Myrtle Beach referrals, or if they just want to reach out to you and connect, where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, they can go through Facebook if they want, and just, my name, Barron Calvert, or, call me, send me a text anytime. My number is 843-421-5197. But yeah, I'm always available.
Well, Barron, I really appreciate your time today. It's been phenomenal getting to know you and learn about your business. And we just appreciate you coming on and being willing to share.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for allowing me to be on here. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, Real Estate Rockstars. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronandmuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.